So, Namatu Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening. So today is a Saturday, the 18th of July 2020. So this is Ajahn Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. And hi everyone, and thank you everyone for listening and joining with me online Facebook, the Dhamma Talk. I would call it reflection and sharing some of my thoughts and also being with you. Just giving an opportunity to listen and share the reflections and the teachings of the Buddha to apply in a day-to-day life. So thank you, Sailja Pajapati. Maybe other day I will speak in Hindi, although my Hindi is not good. But we've been doing this online in English every night. So, Sailja, apologies that this moment I won't be able to speak in Hindi. Maybe other time setting up a time of speaking in Hindi for you all. So, yes. So today is a Saturday, and as usual, I will again be staying for another half an hour after the guided meditation, or after our practice of a meditation, to answer your questions. So if you have any questions you would like to ask on a meditation in particular, or also Buddhism, then you're most welcome to post the questions, and I will try to answer as much as I can, if there are any, in my capability. Okay. So far we have been discussing on the first discourse of the Buddha, and in the meantime I have been explaining its background and focusing on the Four Noble Truths. And last week I have covered on the first Noble Truth, the dukkha, or the suffering, or the satisfaction. And it's been all week that I have been talking and explaining about the second Noble Truth, the samudaya, the cause of suffering. I didn't expect that I will be speaking on the second Noble Truth for this long. Initially, I had a thought that within 2 or 3 days I will finish and not explaining any more on the teachings, the samudaya, the cause of sufferings. But however, as I see that these each and every principles, the teachings are so good to know and so good to understand, particularly link with our day-to-day life. And as a result, I have been just pointing in different aspects of this Tanha, the craving or desire. So in this line of this series of talk, today again I'm still continuing on the same topic, the samudaya, the cause of suffering. But today I think most of us know already on the 3 types of cravings that I am going to explain. and see that how much I can explain on that and how far we can go. And if not able to complete today, then again we will continue tomorrow. Okay? So, in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, Buddha said that there are 3 types of cravings, or desire. It's called Kama Tanha, Bhava Tanha, Vibhava Tanha. Tatra Binandini Sayyati Tang Kama Tanha, Bhava Tanha, Vibhava Tanha. So, there are 3 types of cravings. And as I mentioned yesterday, that the craving has a feeling as a base to arise. Yeah? And the day before I was explaining that how Tanha links to the attachment and the suffering that we have. And yesterday I also mentioned that in order to be free from the Tanha or the craving, all what we can do is to understand the feelings. An ability to understand that feeling leads to the right view, right understanding, and that's how we will be walking on the path the Buddha laid down. And I also mentioned that if we do not understand the feelings, and that feeling leads to these 3 types of cravings: Kama Tanha, Bhava Tanha, and Vibhava Tanha. And here Kama Tanha means the desire for sensual pleasure. Bhava Tanha means a desire for existence or to be. And the last, Vibhava Tanha, is desire to non-existence. Right? And let's go with each and every topics one after another. Now, first topic is Kama Tanha. Kama here doesn't mean only the sex or sexual relationship related activities. Or you may have heard a Kama Sutra. When we talk about the Kama Sutra in Indian history or in Hinduism, that is basically about sexual activities and how to get the satisfaction from this sexual activity. Whereas in Buddhism, karma is not only related to the sexual activities, it is a part of it. Karma here basically means the sensual object. Okay? So that's why in the Kama Tanha, Buddha divided into 2 types. Although there are 3 things. There's Kama, there's a Vattu Kama, Kilesa Kama, and Vipaka Kama. Yeah, 3 things. So Vattu Kama means the sensual object. Kilesa Kama is the sensual, desires, right? It's more of a sensual delight. And Vipaka, basically the result. Now, when we talk about the Vattu Kama is a sensual object, and that basically anything out there that pleases, that eye comes to contact with these objects, or we hear the sound, and that generates the delight. Now here, Kama Tanha is an object, and here another is a sensual delight is the result. In the Buddha, there is a simile given that it's like a matchstick and a match. So matchstick is the mental state in our mind. And the match, in order to create the fire, we have to rub into where they chemically prepare the paper. So once we rub it with the sufficient energy, once we rubbed it, then that matchstick generates the fire. And when it generates the fire itself burns the matchstick. So a paper which comes to contact with the matchstick is object, sensual object, whereas the matchstick is our mind. The very moment when our mind comes to contact with it, and that arouses the sensual desire. And when the sensual desire arises in that moment, then it overtakes the entire thought process, even the activities of a person. And it burns a person too, like the matchstick. So that's why the essential objects are simply visible object, a sound, a smell, taste, and comfortable. That's why there in Sangyukta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha said that there is nothing that is pleasing sight for any man to see a woman, a sound of the woman, the touch of a woman, smell of a woman. And which is same to the girls, a woman. There is nothing that is more delight than having seen a handsome man. And that's simply, for a man, woman is a sensual object. A man is this kilesa kama, so sensual delight. The very moment a man sees a woman, feeling the sense of a delight, craving generates. Sexually sexually related activities, it just arose. And that's same to the woman to see the man too. Yeah? So that's why the second, which is essential delight, or known as the kilesa kama, is about the mind. Mind simply taking control over it. And that's how this became widely known as a sexual intercourse or sexual related when we talk about the kama tanha. And because of this kama tanha, again, we want to be, we want to have, and which is the second types of a tanha, or the craving, which is known as bhava tanha, desire for the existence. So here we want to have and we want to be. So there is a will to be, and there is a will to have it. Sometimes people don't have something and want to have it, and with that desire strive to it, and want to be someone, somewhere, something. So, and if we look at from the modern sociologist Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche, who wrote the history of sexuality, and he wrote so many books on the so-called what is the book called? Genesis of Sexuality and History, or something like that. He says that we human beings are never satisfied with what we have got. And the simple reason behind is that there is a will to the power. We always want to be best. We always want to be better. We always want to dominate somebody else. And that's the reason why we're always in the competition. And there's always, we are comparing from one to another. And that's simply because we have a will to the power. We want to be better. We want to get the more power. And in that power, Nietzsche spoke on a morality. Even the history of a sexuality, he spoke on a morality as the base for the power. So it never satisfies. And because of that unsatisfactoriness on what we have and what we will be, we want to exist in something, somewhere, somehow. And we want to have something. So wanting to be and wanting to have leads to other further activities, and that's simply for the existence. And this existence, again, because we are having attachment to our own self. So that's why the word Nibana is sometimes very difficult to understand. Although in ancient time, during the time of the Buddha, the word Nibana was so famous that there is no need for any explanation. Everyone knows about it. But whereas now, we need a lot and lot of explanation and try to make sense of this word Nibana. And the Buddha didn't have to explain about the Nibbana in those days, simply because everyone was trying to learn what is not to be self. Right? What is not self. And whereas nowadays, in the modern time, in our age, we all are striving to establish ourselves into to be or to have. A student wants to be a first class, examination, getting a first class honor results. And not only that, once I got the honorable certificate, would like to have the good job, and then having a good luxurious life. Yeah? So like that. So because of that state of the mind that we have, it will not be able to comprehend the concept of the Nibbana. The first thing we have to understand that this self is impermanent. And anything that is impermanent cannot be the eternal object. So, this bhava tanha, basically, because of having this self-identity, we are simply thinking of eternity or eternalism. So want to be, what if I die, where I will be, which state of the state I will be after I die, or where I will be after attain the Nibbana, that sort of things. So as long as we have this doubt, or as long as we have this concept of the self exist even in the words, we will not be able to attain or understand, because we have this desire to be, thirst to be. I remember probably 7-8 years ago, I was talking to one of the disciples on the phone and discussing about the Buddha's teachings, and somehow, somewhere, it led to the concept of a Nibbana, and he asked me, what is Nibbana? When I said, Nibbana is a place. It's not a place, and it's not a existence, but it is a place, or it is a state where there is no self. And he immediately asked me back, saying, what will happen after I die then? Or what will happen after I attain the Nibbana then? Then that very moment I realized that he is having this attachment to his own existence, a self. The question he was asking, basically, it has this big self, capital S is there. So as long as there is this capital S, we will not be able to comprehend the concept of this Nibbana. And with that, we will still have the concept, the sense of wanting to be, wanting to have. Now think of yourself at the householder's lives. At your job, you want to be, suppose you are working in a low pay, You want to get better pay, better payment. You want to be promoted to maybe supervisor, maybe manager, or maybe leading, maybe the chairperson. You want to be promoting. Why is that? Because you want to get paid more, and because you want to lead more, and because you will get the power. So you will have and you want to be. And that's the desire too. Yeah. Now let's move on to the third one. Yeah? And this is little difficult one, which is a vibhava tanha. Because kama tanha and bhava tanha are quite similar. Yeah? Because kama tanha is based on essential pleasure or sensual objects, and with that it leads to the existence, right? And then existence here, basically bhava tanha, again, as long as we have this bhava tanha or existence, the sense of desire for the existence, we will still have this kama tanha, the sensual desires. And whether it is kama tanha, whether it is bhava tanha, whether it is vibhava tanha, all again based on the sensation which has comes through, which has again the cause is the six senses. Yeah? And now vibhava tanha is basically you don't want to have and you don't want to be. It is complete opposite of this bhava tanha. Now, in order to make it simpler and understanding it, vibhava tanha is basically, bhava tanha is basically you want to be in a greater position, you want to be in a well paid, or you want to be as a manager or as a chief. And vibhava tanha is basically you don't want to be all of these. So there are so many stories that I have come across. I heard about it so much. People work so hard to get in a better position in their companies, and they work so hard, thinking that once they become that desired position, status, then they will be happy. But once they got there, then they realize that I don't want to be here. Yeah, so this is a vibhava tanha. This is in a conventional way of understanding this vibhava tanha. Right? I don't want to be in here anymore. Whereas in the past, you want to be, and now once you got there and you don't want to be because of the workload, because of the pressure, and because of other stress, troubles, and you don't want to be there. Yeah? And another simile, as like students. Sometimes before you're joining in to the universities, you may have different thoughts and different imaginations of subjects that you take on. And you're thinking the big, massive project on that subject, the big perception. But the very moment when you join this class or a school or course, and after that you realize that the course that you have assigned to is very boring. You don't want to be there. But it's too late. You cannot change. You can, but it may take some times. It may take some time to change it. So vibhava tanha is basically don't want to be where you have already arrived. Yeah. And there are plenty of other famous peoples too, that before they become famous, they want to be a famous person. But once they become famous and having seen the hustles and bustles and the busyness, and they don't want to be there anymore. But that's also vibhava tanha. Yeah? Non-existence. And here again, the concept of the self or the Nibana here, is we can relate to it a lot here, that some group of people will think that there is no after death. There is another group of people will think that there is after death. So concept of there is after death is basically like a bhavatanha, the eternalism or eternity. And the second is that vibhavatanha, or non-existence or annihilation. There is nothing after it. So these both are the extremes that Buddha was talking. And Buddha's teachings are both, Buddha's teachings is basically beyond these two tanhas. There is no existence nor non-existence. So the Vibhava Tanha, again, that's why it's a very interesting topic to understand, that it is not to be and not want to be. And there are, again, a desire. I think I'm going to end today on the desire with this last 1 or 2 minutes. That desire are two ways or two types of a desire. One is trained or a trained desire, and the second is untrained desire. And a trained desire is a chanda. And again, now I think I won't be able to finish here. Chanda is a good desire, and tanha is a bad desire. I think I'm going to make a great mistake here. Chanda is basically desire to be or to attain, but once you have arrived, there is no more desire anymore. Whereas tanha is non-stop. Once you arrived and you still have that desire to continue or want to have it more. And a chanda, virya, chitta, vimamsa are the factors for the enlightenment, which is the chanda as the tanha, or the desire to the enlightenment. Whereas once you have arrived in the enlightenment, there is no more desire to be or to have. Whereas the tanha is, despite we have arrived and we still want to have it more. And this simile that Ananda gave was, when you come to when you were at home, you want to come to the temple. Once you have arrived in the temple, do you still have a desire to be? Right? So the desire to come to the temple has ceased, and that's the good desire. And whereas the bad desire or the tanha or the craving is non-stop, like a sexual activities never fulfills, or satisfaction of our listening the nice voices, or satisfaction of a woman seeing a handsome man, and a handsome man is seeing the woman. There's non-stop satisfaction. You always want to have it more and more, and that is the cause of the suffering, and which we have to eliminate. And once we have fully eliminated, then that is leading to the dispassionate, which is known as a nibbida. And nibbida, dispassion, is not because of bored, but but we have fully understood it, and that understanding clearly and able to comprehend it leads to the vimutti, the emancipation that Buddha is leading us to be. So thank you very much. I end here tonight. And thank you everyone for listening and all the support for the center. Thank you, and we'll see you shortly for the chanting and guided meditation. If not following, then see you tomorrow at the same time for the talk and guided meditation. Until then, may the Buddha bless you. Sadhu.